Here's the first thing that surprises people about Corfu. It doesn't really look Greek. There's no whitewashed village tumbling down to a blue dome church here. Instead, you get tall Venetian townhouses in faded ochre and pink, French arcades, a British palace, and cricket being played on a green in the middle of town. Corfu sits just off the coast of Albania at the top of the Ionian Sea, green and lush in a way the rest of Greece often isn't, and it gives you more genuinely different ways to spend a day than almost any port on a Mediterranean cruise. So here is exactly how to spend your one day in Corfu, Greece, and how to choose without wasting half of it deciding. Let's start with where you land, because this is the one part of Corfu that isn't charming. Your ship ties up at the new port, a working harbor shared with the ferries. The old town is only about a mile away, but the walk runs along a busy, unshaded port road. So don't judge Corfu by that first stretch, and don't walk it in the midday heat. Getting in is easy. A local bus runs into town for a couple of euros every 15 minutes or so. Many ships run a paid shuttle, and a taxi is quick for the short hop. Just agree the fare first. Now the real decision, because Corfu pulls you in 4 directions, and it helps to know which traveler you are. If you love history and atmosphere, you stay in the Old Town, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the loveliest in the Mediterranean. If you want grand palaces and the postcard photo, you head south to the Achilleion and the viewpoint at Kanoni. If you are chasing the most dramatic scenery, you cross to the west coast bays of Paleokastritsa. And if you just want to switch off, you find a beach. The Old Town you do entirely on foot. Everything else means a bus, a taxi, or a tour, and the further you go, the more a tour earns its keep. A quick word on tours. The cruise line's own excursions are easy and guarantee the ship waits for you, but you usually pay more. Local operators run smaller groups, cost less, and spend more time at the sites, and the good ones build in a sensible return buffer. On an island where the best beaches and prettiest drives are spread out, that local knowledge is worth paying for. Make your way into the Old Town and the change is immediate. Tall, elegant buildings, narrow stone lanes the locals call cantunia, washing strung high between the shutters. The whole place feels more like Venice or a corner of Italy than anything you'd expect in Greece. Head for the Spianada, the huge green esplanade between the Old Town and the sea, one of the largest squares in the Balkans, with the old fortress on one side and the cafes on the other. And here's something most cruisers walk straight past. The long, graceful arcade of cafes along the edge of the Spianada is called the Liston, and it isn't Italian or Greek at all, it's French. When Napoleon's France briefly ruled Corfu in the early 1800s, his architects built it, modeling it directly on the Rue de Rivoli in Paris. So when you sit under those arches with a coffee, you're in a little piece of Paris that washed up on a Greek island 2 centuries ago. It's the best people-watching spot on the island. Here's the beat that explains everything you're looking at. Unlike almost every other part of Greece, Corfu was never conquered by the Ottomans. The Venetians held this island for 400 years and turned it into a fortress guarding the entrance to the Adriatic. Twice the Ottomans came in force, most famously in 1716, when a garrison of just a few thousand held out against an army many times its size. A huge storm wrecked the besieging fleet. The attack collapsed and the island stayed free. That's why Corfu looks the way it does. While the rest of Greece lived under Ottoman rule for centuries, Corfu was busy becoming a little Venice. If you only do one thing in the Old Town, climb up into the old fortress out on its rocky point. It's the great fist of stone that guarded the island through all those sieges, and from the top you get the view that makes the whole day click into place. The red roofs, the green Spianada, the mountains of Albania across the water, and your own ship at the pier. It's an easy walk up rather than a brutal climb. Standing there with the sea on three sides, you understand exactly why no one ever took this place. There's a stranger piece of this story too. Corfu's patron saint, Spyridon, is credited with saving the island from those sieges and from plague, and his body is still here, mummified, kept in a silver casket in a small church with a tall red-domed bell tower in the heart of the old town. Several times a year, they carry him through the streets in a grand procession, and so many local men are named Spyros after him. Step inside for a few quiet minutes. It's dim, gilded, and unlike anything else you'll see today. When you're ready for lunch, Corfu's food is its own quiet surprise, because 400 years of Venice left a mark on the plate too. Look for Sofrito, thin veal, slow-cooked in white wine, garlic, and parsley, or Pastitsada, beef or rooster in a rich tomato sauce, warm with cinnamon and cloves over thick pasta. If you like a kick, there's Bordato, a fiery red fish stew. And the local drink isn't ouzo, it's kumquat. Corfu grows the tiny citrus fruit and turns it into a sweet, bright liqueur you'll see in every shop window. Try a small glass after lunch. There's one more thing on that green by the Liston that stops cruisers in their tracks. Cricket, actual cricket, played on a proper pitch in the middle of a Greek town. The British ran Corfu for about 50 years in the 1800s, and when they left, the islanders kept the game. Corfu is the heart of cricket in Greece, the one place it's been played for 2 centuries, and on the right afternoon, you can watch a match on the Spianada with coffee in hand. Now your day forks. You can stay right here, climbing the fortress, wandering the lanes, swimming off the rocks below the walls, and lingering on the Liston, or you can head out to see the rest of the island. Both are good days, just different ones. The most popular trip out is the Achilleion Palace, a short drive south. It was built in the 1890s by Empress Elizabeth of Austria, the restless royal known as Sisi, who fell in love with Corfu and dedicated the whole palace to the Greek hero Achilles. The marble gardens open to a sweeping view, and most tours pair it with a stop at Kanoni, the spot you have seen on 100 postcards. A tiny chapel on a causeway, and just beyond it, Mouse Island, which legend says is the ship of Odysseus, turned to stone by an angry sea god. And just below sits Repos, a quiet green estate where, back in 1921, a baby was born who grew up to be Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and husband of Queen Elizabeth II. If you would rather stay close, the old town easily fills a day. The new fortress for another view, the grand British-built palace that now holds a museum of Asian art, and spots to swim off the rocks below the walls. One honest note, the lanes are old stone, uneven and slick when wet, so sensible shoes matter more than you would think. A mid-afternoon warning that catches a lot of people. If your heart is set on Paleokastritsa, the stunning green headlands and clifftop monastery on the west coast, understand it is a proper trip across the island, the better part of an hour each way on winding roads. It is beautiful, arguably the most beautiful corner of Corfu, but it does not combine with the palace and the old town in one port day. Pick it as your one big thing, go by tour or a hired driver, and do not try to bolt it onto everything else. So how do you choose between paying up and doing it yourself? The old town is free to wander, and it is just a few euros for the fortress, so book nothing for that. The Achilleion and Kanoni you can reach by public bus, but a small group tour that links the palace, the viewpoint, and the old town removes all the timing stress. And Paleokastritsa is the one where a tour or private driver genuinely pays for itself, because the distance and the winding road make a do-it-yourself trip a gamble against the ship's clock. And that brings us to the trap that ends more Corfu days badly than any other, forgetting you're not docked in the old town. You're a mile away at a working port, and that last mile takes longer than you think at the end of a hot day, especially waiting on a bus or shuttle. Build in a real cushion and aim to be heading back a good hour before all aboard. Don't leave the far-flung trip so late that one stuck bus turns into a sprint. Before you sail, do one last thing. Look back at the town as you pull away. The Venetian rooftops glowing against the green hills with Albania's mountains rising behind. It's a view that has stopped invading fleets and charmed wandering empresses, and now it's yours for a moment too. We have added our favorite local tours in the description below. They are good value with smaller groups, and they have always got us back to the ship on time. Tell us how you would spend your day in Corfu, Greece, and keep watching for the next port.